Elaborate road and trail systems have been constructed in the national forests. Well-equipped motor trucks, packed trains, and airplanes are pressed into use transporting supplies and firefighters. Specially designed tools, equipment, and power implements have been developed and are contributing their part to the difficult task of suppressing fires in the national forests. Great progress has been made in developing organization of crews for faster production of fire line and for other special tasks that must be done to control fires. When these rangers began to fight fires, they discovered through sad experience that there were certain rules of the game that must be followed, and that when they were violated, fires usually got away. Many other pioneers likewise learned about these common errors. The old-timers passed some of their knowledge on to the next crop of forest officers, but systematic training had not yet been highly developed, and too often the lessons were not deeply enough impressed. And so the second generation of rangers continued to make many of these same common errors until stern experience taught them better. Training technique has advanced rapidly in recent years, but has not kept pace with progress in transportation, organization, and equipment for firefighting. With the much more intensive attack on fires now practiced, many more forest officers are pressed into service as fire line overhead. And so we still find the same old common errors cropping up to plague the fire boss. The same errors, but made by different men. Why? Inadequate training. The purpose of this picture is to help train the young forest officers, other firefighters, and future foresters to avoid some of the more common and serious errors in firefighting. Men have only so much energy to expend. Climbing long distances up steep, rough hills to work exacts an awful toll of this precious store of energy. The exact loss in fire line production due to this cause is not known, but it is tremendous. These men must climb miles to the fire line to go to work and then down again at the end of each shift. Usually, when camps are located too far from the job, it is due to the lack of real thinking on the part of the fire boss, to a failure to appreciate the loss in his crew's ability to work on the fire due to fatigue. There are only 3 essential considerations in camp location: to get men within easy striking distance of the fire, to get the men in a place where they will be safe, to get the men where they can get water, food, and sleep. The fire boss of this crew knows that it is much better to camp on the fire line, so he has the crew take their beds with them and arranges to have food and water transported to the line camp. Sometimes it is necessary to camp inside the burn for safety. The fire boss must see that his crew is protected from danger of the fire itself, from falling trees, rolling rocks, and logs. Locations like this must be avoided. In the mountain country, pack mules are still a dependable standby for placing camp in rough terrain. Occasionally, the only safe location is in a place which cannot be reached by pack stock. In such cases, airplanes must be employed. However, this is nearly always cheaper and better in the long run because the crew can devote a much greater share of its energy to the fire instead of wasting it hiking up and down to camp. There is a natural tendency on the part of most men to do a workmanlike job of grading, rather than to speed around the fire with an adequate but not over-elaborate trench. These men are not only grading 4 times as much as needed, but also are using a common but inefficient method of organization. Two things have happened here. The up-to-date method of crew organization is being used. This in itself hastens line construction. Just as important, however, is the fact that the line is not being constructed too wide. When the fire is corralled, the lines will be strengthened. One man carries extra tools to enable the crew to meet all varieties of conditions. This crew is using the old conventional form of fire line organization. Much time is lost due to loafing and lack of supervision. Under this method, time urgently needed to complete the control line to prevent a serious run or blow-up is wasted. This crew is using the modern method of fire line organization. Every man is working. Loafing is reduced to the absolute minimum. No one interrupts another's work in passing. The fire line is being constructed, burned out, and held at a rate much faster than in the case of the old organization. In areas where snags are numerous, one of the most serious common errors lies in the failure to fall the snags quickly enough to prevent their setting spot fires ahead of the line. In this case, all of the crew's energy is being devoted to trenching, while the wind is carrying sparks across the line to nullify its value. The fire boss, taking into account the type and locations of snags, wind conditions, and fuel types beyond the lines, must decide whether the snag falling job can wait, whether it must be done along with the trenching or even ahead of it. It is hard work building line, but harder yet when your efforts are being wasted. Someone made a bad error. When these men left camp, they should have been given Pulaski tools for this type of cover. No worker wants to use the wrong tool. These men are licked before they start. Where extra tools are required by variation in the fuel type, they should be carried by one man in the crew. Pine cones and small chunks such as this may cause the fire to get away by rolling down steep slopes. When such material is prevalent, trenches shaped like this should be constructed. The width and depth of the trench, depending upon the volume and weight of the rolling material and the character of the fuel below the line. In very dangerous places, it is good business to construct fairly elaborate trenches to catch the roll. Too often, firefighters fail to reduce hot spots along the line. The fire boss must see that patrolmen and mop-up men take care of such dangerous hot spots. A few shovelfuls of dirt expertly thrown on the stub will prevent the great danger of sparks starting fire across the line. By pulling loose fuel from under the log and scattering it, this hot spot is effectively reduced. The danger of the fire getting away at this point is removed. A very serious and common error lies in failure to detect and remove burning material such as this from places where it may cause a crown fire or reburn to start. It is so simple to remove a chunk like this from under a tree. Yet failure to do so has been responsible for a number of very large and costly fires. Too often, there is a failure to take steps to prevent burning material from rolling down slopes, scattering fire into fresh fuel and causing spreads and reburns. The probability of this log rolling down the hill has been reduced many-fold by this simple operation. Much time and energy are wasted in constructing continuous trenches along dead fire edges. Time and labor needed on dangerous hot spots ahead on the line. The more skillful fire boss will handle the situation like this. Remember, to be safe, coal trailing must be done with the hands, not with the eye. This man is making as much safe fire line as a whole crew building a continuous trench. Only the hot and dangerous edges are worked. Sometimes additional men work with the coal trailer, shoveling in the hot spots. Burning chunks are removed from the fire's edge to a safe distance inside the fire. The use of line building equipment machinery is too frequently overlooked. Fire equipment is available for building line where topography will permit its operation. The failure to use it wherever possible is a very serious error. These machines will build line in surprisingly rough country. The Bosworth trencher will build on the average of 30 chains per hour. An adequate number of men, properly organized, is necessary to support the machine outfits. The machine can build the line, but line alone won't stop the fire. There should be a man to locate the line. This is a most important operation. should be several gangs of sawyers. Also, a few men to clear the debris from the trench behind the machine. A torch man to burn out, and shovel men to patrol the line and mop up. The number of men in each unit will depend on the cover type and other variables, and will have to be determined for each particular fire. The 35 and 40 cat, equipped with a special front and attachment called the brush buster, is designed to assist with the clearing and swamping job. Tests in countries such as shown here have demonstrated that this machine will construct 60 chains of good fire line per hour. The same general organization, with the exception of a clearing crew, will be needed with the Bosworth trencher. However, the Bosworth trencher can be used in country too rough for the tractor. Here comes the line locator. The importance of line location for any method of line building cannot be overemphasized. In this type, a 25-man clearing crew composed of axe and Pulaski men and also several saw gangs is needed to keep ahead of the machine. And it should be followed by 2 or 3 men finishing the line. A torchman and an appropriate number of workers to hold and mop up. Another serious error commonly found in firefighting is the improper location of fire line when backfiring is planned. With the line located as in this picture, the fuel above the line will ignite. Also, the heat will become so intense that the men will be unable to remain on the line to hold it. Furthermore, the drafts will work against the success of the backfire operation. When the line is located just over the ridge top, the cold air currents at the top of the slope tend to stop the hot drafts generated by the fire, thereby greatly reducing the danger of the backfire throwing sparks across the line. Such locations as this should be selected when ridge backfiring is planned. Care must be used to avoid such line locations as this. Here, a very high hazard from roll has been created unnecessarily. But proper location can vary depending upon slope, fuel type, time of day, wind, fuel, and moisture conditions. Remember, where backfiring is planned in rough country, locate lines just over the ridge top, on the side away from the fire. The men can stay on the line. The drafts will be in your favor. Little or no danger of roll. Proper line location is the secret of success in this as in all methods. A very common and serious error is in this kind of careless line location. Material is almost certain to roll across the line and frequently causes the fire to escape and become large. The proper location in a case such as this is just up the slope opposite the fire, a few feet from the bottom of the draw. When the line is properly located, as in this picture, the draw itself serves as a trough to catch the roll. The fire got too hot for the patrolmen that time. Here's what happened. This crew constructed the line from point to point, intending to burn out later, but they forgot. The unburned material inside the line blazed up, roared across, and on up the mountain. always burn out all material inside the line promptly, or construct the fire line at the fire's edge.